to you, T. Obviously, I am not present with you, but whenever I'm away from you, I absolutely miss you. I know that the choir just rocked and they were awesome and they continue to bless us in a powerful way. But on this morning, I want to introduce our speaker for today. Our speaker really needs no introduction. She's a member of the family, has been for a long time, and I don't want to take up her time saying all the wonderful things that she is doing in the world, but the Reverend Jacqueline Atkins is absolutely a gem. She's got a wealth of knowledge, she's got a wealth of experience, and she has healthy relationships. So I'm excited to have her share with you this morning the power of love languages. Reverend, take it away. God bless you. Love you. And I'll see you all real soon. Take care now. Enjoy.
Good morning. Good morning. I had to stop crying. I had a start, but I just need to stop for a minute because yesterday I was here in this church, and I was just supposed to be here for a minute, but as God would have it, I ended up being here for a long time. And you know, Jesus came here and he taught us service. Jesus served. He was a servant, okay? And he taught us how to serve in a way that you thought he was being served. Is that correct? Yes. Let me hear you. I need to hear you. Is that correct? Yes. And so yesterday, I have to tell you, our safety team hosted a conference here with churches from all over the world, I think, because there was lots of people here. But and so they were doing what they were doing, but then what I saw was the staff. I mean, yeah, they get paid something. I don't know if they get paid for all what they do. But if you could have seen the energy and the love and just kind of hanging around and listening to the people who were visiting talk about how wonderful this place was. So I want us to put hands together for the safety team and for all the staff at Christ Universal Temple. And one other thing before I get into my lesson, maybe two. Last night, a lot of wonderful things were going on. The Married Couples Club had a wonderful event. Some of you were doing things, but it was cold and snowy, right? Let's say it was cold and snowy. But a group of people from your church called the Freedom Ministry of Christ Universal Temple packed up their cars and went to 26 over on there where the prisons are and went behind the walls to teach the truth. I want you to know that about your church. And when we went in there, yeah, give them a hand. That's right. And when we went in there, guess who was blessed the most? We were. I was feeling because Rose brought this 5 love languages to us. Rose is my soror. Rose is my sister at Christ Universal Temple. Rose has been a lot over the years. When I taught my class, Rose and Don came in to talk about when times get tough, you need to change the music if you're going to stay married because you can't dance to old music. You understand? So Rose, I was feeling some kind of way. I know life is everlasting. I know that. But I was still feeling something. And I went up into the Freedom Ministry, and we went into behind the walls, and the men came in, and we got to praying, and Celeste taught a lesson, and we got to shouting and empower me, and Invictus was said, and I walked out. I told them, thank you. I'll be back. I thank you because I was blessed. That was a wonderful thing. One other thing before we get started, I'd like for each of us right now, I would like for you to close your eyes. Just close your eyes. And I want you, wait a minute, open your eyes for a minute. Do you believe these principles work? Yes. Do you really believe these principles work? Yes. Okay. So I want you to work with me. And what I'm going to do now, I want you to do in your own every time you walk into this sanctuary. So I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I want you to start all the way through the balcony in your mind's eye and see every seat filled. I want you to close your eyes, but in your mind's eye, you're now walking through the balcony. and every seat is filled. And then you're going to come down the stairs on either side, whichever side you started with, and you're going to walk through the main floor, going from the platform all the way back, platform all the way back, platform all the way back, and on until every section is covered. And in your mind's eye, you see every seat filled. Every seat is filled, for we know these principles work, and we know that because they have worked for us, and we want to be able to let many, 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 many more people learn these principles. So the principles are working on the people you see in the seats. And we can simply say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, that each seat is filled. Thank you, God. And so it is. Give yourselves a hand. You've started. You've planted the seed. Now, you told me these principles work. That's what you said. And if they work, then the seats will be filled. The seeds have been planted. And if each of us just walk in here, each time we walk in, just take a minute and do that. Wow. They call it magic. I call it working it, okay? Repeat after me. God is. I am. God is. I am. God is spirit. I am spirit. Having a human experience. God is spirit. I am spirit. Having a human experience. Well, we can start the lesson now because you know what God is, you know what you are, you know what you're doing. So I want you now, right now, just to listen closely to these words.
Talk to me. Talk to me. All of the things you say.
And if you can't quite hear them, they're up there.
Talk to me. In your own sweet gentle way. Let me hear.
Listen to them carefully.
Tell me, dear. Tell me you love me so. Talk to me. Talk to me. Tell me why. I want to know. The many ways you speak of love, I've heard before, and it sounds so good. Every time, please say the part I love just once more. Got enough to make you mine.
I heard people singing it and people remembering, and you young whippersnappers, I'm sorry, catch up with us because that was it. But what is so profound about that, the words we just heard from that song made many years ago, Talk to Me, by Sonny and the Sunliners, if any of you all want to go and check it out, are words of affirmation and reflect the purpose of love languages. Did you know that? Words of affirmation and reflect the purpose of love languages. Love languages are harmonizing, are magnetizing, are wonderful ways to communicate. And like legalese that specialize for language for lawyers when practicing law, or medical mumble jumble that specialized language for doctors and others in the medical field they use to effectively practice medicine. Love languages are specialized ways of communicating in relationships. They are powerful communicators of emotional love. Love languages connect us emotionally. You all heard the love language up in there. I know I saw some of y'all rocking and doing that. Yeah, you are connecting emotionally. They bring about an emotional engagement, creating that very special kind of attention. These love languages create that very special kind of attention that one gives only to a loved one. Gary Chapman has written that knowing and using love languages, that's essential for all good relationships, whether it's a parent and child or cousin or whatever. But in this series, we are focusing on couples. Couples who are dating or thinking about dating. Couples who are getting married or thinking about getting married. Couples who are married and want to make it even better. And for those couples who are struggling and thinking about getting unmarried. But the bonus in this series is that it's for all individuals who want to be in a close, intimate relationship. It's for folks who want a sweet, loving relationship. Everybody needs to listen up because Reverend Wells has created a series that has something for all adults. You get the picture now, you see. Reverend Wells taught us last week that it's critically important for you to know your love language. And I'm going to refer back to this book a couple of times. It's 5 love languages, and it has tools in the back that will help you know your love language. We'll come back to that. And why do you want to know what your love language is? That's the key. Well, I don't know about you. I want to know because I want to know what my love language is. That's the key to me knowing what I want in a relationship. Whether you are consciously aware of it or not, we all have a love language. All have a love language that needs to be spoken to us. We want to have this love language spoken to us so that we can experience being wanted. I want to see what those love languages are. That we can experience being wanted and being cared for. As Gary Chapman has written, our love language, my love language spoken to me is the fuel that fills up my emotional love tank. It allows me to be functioning at 100% in the relationship. And our partner's love language needs to be spoken to us, by us, to them, to fill up his or her emotional love tank. The love language needs to be spoken to your partner so that they can commit, get engaged 100% into the relationship. You hear what I'm saying? Through his years of research and working with couples, Gary Chapman has identified 5 love languages. The 5 love languages are quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch, and all of these are going to be subject to a sermon. I want to be sitting down there for the physical touch one. I want to know what Reverend going to do with that one. And lastly, the one that is ours to spend a few minutes with this morning is words of affirmation. Words of affirmation. Now, I was really happy that Rev asked me to speak on this one because this one can be used really, really wonderfully to help us understand that, you know those principles we learn up here each Sunday? Yeah, talk to me. You learn principles up here each Sunday? And if you're in a JCI class, you learn principles there. But the question becomes, have you decided that those principles are more than just for intellectual knowledge? Are those principles more than just to be used to judge somebody else? Have you incorporated those principles into your life so that you can live a happy, healthy, and prosperous life? That's the question. And this words of affirmation, this love language, helps me to be able to talk about that. So I'm going to step back for a minute to this. We're metaphysicians, right? Ooh, that was good. Metaphysical interpretation is not only for the Bible or religious readings. It's not. Metaphysical interpretation is the lens through which the metaphysician, the true metaphysician, views the world and everything in it. We're going to take it a little bit higher. Come on with me. Metaphysical interpretation is our key to living a better life. Can you say that? Metaphysical interpretation is my key to living a better life. Metaphysical interpretation of the world and everything in it. The world and everything in it. And I don't know about you, sometimes I want to put my metaphysician card on the shelf, huh? What do you sometimes? I don't know, but I don't. I don't do that. Because I also know the minute I put it on the shelf, I'm walking right into a path into hell. Okay? You got it? Mm-hmm. Our founder, Johnny Coleman, the Reverend Dr. Johnny, as a matter of fact, I'm wearing her bracelet today. I figured I needed everything. I knew God was with me, but I figured it couldn't hurt to wear her bracelet. Deborah got this for me at the estate sale. And then I put on my mama's ring. I got it all on this morning. You know, no, we're not taking any chances. But Johnny taught us to practice a practical Christianity. She taught us to, that means that even though we feel good, you know, we get this high on Sunday morning as the lesson is being taught, or we get a pop on Wednesday when we're in class, if I can't live my metaphysical interpretation on Tuesday morning when I get a pink slip and understand that's simply an opportunity for me to move on up a little bit higher, did you hear me? If I can't use my metaphysical interpretation on Friday afternoon, the last Friday of the month, and I get a huge bill that I was not planning on, if I can't use it to know that, oh, God's going to give me some more money because I got to pay this bill. Huh? Do you understand what I'm saying? If I don't use my metaphysical interpretation with that in that fashion, I am not working it. I am not working it. It works if you work it. I am not working it. So how does your new thought, how does our new thought Christianity, what kind of practicality, what does it really mean? What does that have to do with love languages? What does that have to do with love languages? Repeat after me. God is love.
God is love.
I am made in the image of God.
I am love.
God is love.
God is love.
I am made in the image of God. I am love. You are what?
Love.
What?
Love.
Keep on bragging. Hold on to that. That's exactly right. For that power of love that we are, according to Charles Fillmore and according to each of you out here, is an inner quality. An inner quality that sees good everywhere. I should have asked you, where does that inner quality of love sees good? Where? Everywhere. And in whom? Everybody. Love insists that all is good, and by refusing to see anything but good, it causes the quality of good to pop up, to appear. It almost seems like magic, and you're simply working the principles. It will bring your own to you because it's a magnet. It's a magnet. It will adjust that love that you are, all under misunderstandings. It will make your life and affairs healthy, happy, harmonious, and free. The power of love, we know, is not an emotion. You know that, right? It's a power. Yet, what did you tell me you were? You told me you were spiritual beings who are having a human experience. Is that what you told me? Yes, that's what you are. You're spirit for us, for spiritual beings who have chosen, you know, you chose to do this, right? You chose to come on and have this human experience, and you have emotional needs. You came packaged with that, emotional needs. Well, for us, love shows up as tender compassion, kindness. Love shows up as devoted service. And any and all of those things may be a trait or characteristic of a love language. When we use love languages, I am recognizing the good in my partner. When I use love languages, I am recognizing the good in my partner, particularly if his love language is words of affirmation. Using love language, I am acting on the good in me. Listen to that. I'm going to use the love language. I'm going to be acting on the good in me, tapping into my good so that I can tap into the good of my partner, and thereby creating that sweet, wonderful, loving, intimate relationship. All y'all want. You know what you want. Is that right? That's what happens. That's what happens. It's rightfully mine when I tap into the good in me and use love languages to tap into the good of my partner. It comes together. We think it's magic. It ain't magic. It's called working the principles. That's how the metaphysical interpretation has to deal with how love languages are wrapped around and how metaphysical interpretation. For those of us who've stepped into this human experience, love languages may be thought of as a way of expressing what we are. You said you're loved, so we need a practical way of expressing that. It's a practical application of truth. I think when we use love languages, I believe we're demonstrating our truth. This morning's love language is words of affirmation. And as I said earlier, where does it fit? Smack dab in the middle of our truth principles. The only question is, are you wearing your metaphysical interpretation lens? Are you wearing your metaphysical interpretation lens? To affirm, as written in the revealing word, it has several meanings, but the meaning that affirm has, that Charles Fillmore wrote, that I really love, it is to speak aloud a statement of truth. To speak aloud a statement of truth. And then an affirmation is defined as a positive statement of truth. By use of affirmation, what we do, we claim and we appropriate what is ours. By speaking an affirmation, and anybody who's been in, Lesson in Truth 1? We claim and appropriate that which is ours. And by affirming truth, we are lifted up out of false thinking into a consciousness of spirit. Words of affirmation are words of transformation. Please say that. Words of affirmation. One more time. Words of affirmation are words of transformation. Using words of affirmation, I call it truth-telling. 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 Because we will lie on God in a hot second. We will lie. We will talk about, I am broke. I know none of you have ever said that because you told me you're all metaphysicians. None of you said, I am broke. When you say that, you're lying on God. Huh? Because you told me you were a spiritual being. You didn't go into you're made in the image and after the likeness of God, but I know that's what you were thinking. And if that's the case, you can never be broke. You can't ever be broke. I'm not going to go into the snow right now. Let me just stay here on the thing here. Why do I call words of affirmation truth-telling? The facts will make us lie. The facts will make us lie. They will make us judge by appearances, okay? And if the story of our life, that is the Bible, has taught us once, it has taught us 1,000,000 times that do not judge by appearances. Do not do that. Moses was taught at the Red Sea. What if he had judged by appearances and didn't put his foot up in there? What you think? Joshua was taught, the men that went with Joshua, they were taught, don't judge by appearances, otherwise you'll never get to the promised land. And surely, our brother Jesus taught it to us over and over and over again. So when we look through the facts, did you hear me say through the facts of any situation to the God presence, we are blessed and truth prevails in our life. That's what words of affirmation do. Using words of affirmation, knowing it's my partner's love language, I am looking through his or her behavior. Do you hear me? I'm looking through his or her behavior. I'm seeing the good, and I speak it to that person. I just gave you a powerful tool if you want that sweet, loving relationship we all talk about. You see, I'm going to say that again. Using words of affirmation, knowing it's my partner's love language, I am looking through his or her behavior. I am seeing the good, and I speak it to that person. Those words of affirmation definitely fills that emotional love tank. Hearing words of affirmation, that special person feels secure in your love. It will make the whole world look brighter and will enable your loved one to reach his or her highest potential in life and in your relationship. That's right, that's right, that's exactly right. And metaphysicians, using our metaphysical interpretation lens, we know, because that's what Chapman says. Chapman says, fill the love tank, use the words of affirmation, but we want to make sure we know that everything is and should be interpreted from a metaphysical point of view. And so, using our metaphysical interpretation lens, we know that we are simply affirming truth. We know that any challenge in the relationship created by false thinking or error, whatever kind, is being lifted up out of false thinking. And as we use words of affirmation, any mediocre relationship who likes a mediocre relationship? Nobody. It's being lifted out of mediocrity into the consciousness of spirit. In each of the love languages, as in all languages, English, Spanish, there are different dialects. The folks in England, though they speak English, do not speak the dialect that we speak in America. How many people watch The Crown on Netflix? Yeah, I know. If you watch that movie, it's all about English, England, etc. And you hear them talking, and sometimes you got to say, what did they say? They're talking English, but they're talking a different dialect. As a matter of fact, though, most African Americans arguably can speak and understand English spoken in a couple of dialects. One, as my mother called it, and you better have spoken that in front of her, the Queen's English. Otherwise, she said, go and get the razor strap. Queen's English, you knew it. You could conjugate the verbs. You could do whatever you needed, but you spoke the Queen's English if my mother was around, if you were a child in her house, or if you were a child visiting in her house, as a matter of fact. And it was like, oh, you understand that issue. But the other dialect was what we sometimes call Ebonics. Y'all got it. Huh? You get it? Y'all got it? That's it. So we do. There's different dialects. And in love languages, in the words of affirmation, that love language, it has 4 dialects. It has 4 dialects. Our goal, therefore, is twofold. First, to tune into what our love language, our partner needs to hear for his or her emotional tank to be filled. And again, the tools in the back to figure it out. If y'all don't know each other's love language, let's get it, let's find out. That's one thing, but then you need to know what's the dialect. What is his or her dialect? The first dialect is verbal compliments. Verbal compliments. Now, I'm here to tell you, whatever the love language, verbal compliments probably works pretty good. It is a love language that's a motivator. It's a motivator when you say, ooh, you look good in that suit. My partner's sitting down there, I'm trying to get in. I got to do 2 things, getting too near. Or you say, my, you did a great job fixing that, whatever was fixed. Or somebody says to you, wow, you really cooked a great dinner. And And they weren't saying it too much to me because I don't do that a lot. But if they did, I can do it. You know, just like the same mother who made you speak the Queen's English. My mother, you had to cook, read, and be able to clean house. So I could do it. So, but whatever the compliment is, the person is going to feel better, but you need to be aware of your intention. What is your intention? Using a love language is for the well-being of the one you love. What am I saying? I'm saying the object of using your partner's love language is not to get something you want. It's not to get something you want. But it's doing something for your partner's well-being. Huh? However, Chapman writes and accurately writes, when receiving affirming words in a compliment, a person is more likely to be motivated to reciprocate, and so something his or her partner's desire may show up, right? But you have to be intentional. You really do have to be intentional. From a metaphysical lens, what I'm saying, what I'm talking about when I give a compliment with good faith, intentionally not wanting anything but wanting the other person to know how good he or she is, what happens with that in our teaching, in our metaphysics? Live it. Don't just learn it, live it. It means that I've planted a seed. I've given something out. And when I give, I am going to receive. That's the nature of the law. It happens every time. I'm going to give something, and it's going to come back to me, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. That's the metaphysical interpretation. Do you understand what I'm saying? The practical application of us living in a wonderful relationship. Another dialect in the love language, words of affirmation, is encouraging words or words to inspire courage. If your partner's love language is words of affirmation, and if the dialect is encouraging words, what happens when that person has been defeated by something? It's critically important that you know your next statement must be, hey, I'm really glad you moved through that because now you can move on to bigger and better things. Understand what I'm saying? Yeah. There was a writer in Gary Chapman's book, and she had written, and she had gotten her work had been rejected by the publishers. And so for years, she didn't write. It shut it down. Her husband didn't know. And one evening, he happened just to read one of her articles and told her, oh, you really write well. Why don't you send these out to the publishers? And after he left out, she thought about it. She hadn't done that in years because that rejection was pretty painful. But she said she thought about it. That love language of encouraging words made her sit and dwell on that. And shortly thereafter, she sent out her article, the first one in years, and guess what? It was accepted. And then she started writing articles after articles after articles and got a book publishing contract. Understanding that was her love language. She needed her husband to know that, and she then needed her husband to use it. Yeah. When you, the third one is kind of hard. It's humble. Humble words. Is that up there? Yeah, humble words. Humble words are simply put, love makes requests, not demands. Honey, would you please? Not honey, you better. You know, we know about the honeydews, right? How many people know about honeydews? Honey, do that. Honey, do this. Honey, do that. If your partner's dialect is humble words, that honeydews is going to get him sitting on the couch or her sitting on the couch just like this, looking at you like, But if you say, I really need the gutters cleaned off, would you do it? Or you could say, you know, you need to clean those gutters off because they're about to fall off the house. understand we don't even think about that. But if your love language, your partner's love language is humble words, and you come at it like that, it will not work. But if you come at it in the right way, a request, when you demand of your partner, you become the parent, and your partner becomes the child. My husband's up in this room. Boy, boy, boy. A child may require demands, but the child has not learned to navigate the waters of life. Your partner is not your child. Your partner who has a love language of words of affirmation with the dialect of humble words is your equal. Yes, your partner deserves to know what you want. Please let your partner know what you want. As a matter of fact, according to Chapman, each of you knowing what the other wants is a necessity for a close relationship to flourish. However, speaking in a humble dialect means when wanting a need to be filled, requesting rather than demanding will fill your partner's emotional love tank and get done what you're asking. Once again, metaphysical interpretation says, I'm giving a love nudge. I'm giving a love request. And what am I going to get back? I'm going to get a love nudge back. The work is going to get done, and we're going to be smiling at each other over dinner time, okay? Is that right? The law works. Say the law works. The law works. Every time. The final dialect is kind words. Kind words. This particular dialect requires the use of compassionate, agreeable, safe, and caring words. But it, as Chapman says, really has much to do with how you say the words. He has a great example. He says, so your partner has words of affirmation as the love language, and his dialect or her dialect is kind words. And you say, I love you. Or you say, I love you. I'm going to come back there and say it so y'all get it. It's a difference in what is said. I shouldn't say what is said, how it's said. In other words, one may say one thing, but our tone of voice says something else. We're talking about warm, sweet, loving relationships. And it's the tone of voice that usually controls what is heard by our partner. I love you. Or I love you. This dialect, though, of kind words has a component which is really the challenge for most of us in this kind of loving relationship. You see, when the partner who has this dialect, who needs this to get his emotional love tank filled, is angry and upset and lashing out in words. And I am not talking about abuse, okay? Know that abuse, you call me too and move on out, okay? But I'm talking about just a normal environment where somebody, the partner who has this love language, is angry, upset, lashing out in words of heat. If you choose to speak in this dialect, you will not, that is a dialect of kind words, you will not reciprocate with additional heat, but with a soft voice. Chapman writes, you will receive what is being said to you in the angry manner as information about that person's emotional feelings. You'll receive it as that person's perception of the situation, and you will speak in a soft voice. You will know that may not be the truth, but you'll speak in the soft voice. And if there has been a wrong committed by you, let's just say, sometimes, not very often, I do something that's wrong. Incorporated in this dialect, as that person is speaking heatedly, has to be forgiveness. I have to ask that person for forgiveness. Or if the person has done something wrong and the person asks me for forgiveness to fill that person's emotional love tank, I have to say, you did it. You said you did it. You're sorry you did it. It ain't a habit that you do it all the time. I have to say, I forgive you. Forgiveness is key. Acceptance of forgiveness, giving forgiveness. A meaningful acceptance of, I am sorry for hurting you. I'm sorry for hurting you is key to the restoration of a close, intimate relationship. If forgiveness is being asked of you, the kind words, I forgive you, will fill your partner's emotional tank and will create a new path for continuing a love relationship. Dr. Emily Cady, H. Emily Cady, writes in Lessons in Truth, as expressed in each individual, God becomes personal to that one, a personal, loving, all-forgiving Father, Mother, God. Jesus taught that our personal, loving relationship with God was the most important relationship we can have. If we have that relationship, that personal, loving relationship with God, we then have a loving relationship with ourselves and can have a loving relationship with our partners. When we have that relationship, it would be sweet and warm and wonderful. Jesus, my brother, my big brother Jesus, knew our love language as he was creating a relationship with us. And we would need to hear it. He knew we would need to hear the love language spoken to be secure, to feel loved, to know what we are, to know that we are loved. And he spoke to us in words of affirmation. Yes, he did. Jesus looked through our shortcomings to affirm our truth. Jesus said, now you know he looked through our shortcomings because he said, you are the light of the world, huh? Jesus said, greater things shall ye do. Jesus even said, and I didn't put it up there because I couldn't get the scripture right away and Reverend Liz wasn't downloading it to me. Ye are gods. Though Jesus saw his disciples, who also represents aspects of us, you know that, true students, right? Yes. He saw them mess up time and again. Jesus, lived truth. He saw through the appearances. He was love demonstrating truth. And as he spoke words of affirmation to them, guess what? They awakened to truth. They awakened to truth. As we read and study these words 2,000 years later, if we really do read them and study them, we are awakened to our truth. As we use words of affirmation, the love language of our partners, to our partners, we awaken a new, vibrant, exciting, and rewarding relationship. Use Gary Chapman's book, y'all. Use it to find that tool in the back so you can figure out what is yours and what is your partner's love language. You need to know. You need to know yours so you can ask for what you need, and you need to know your partner's. Learn what your love language is so you can know what you want. Then when you learn what yours is and learn what your partner's is, speak it, speak it, speak it, speak it, speak it to each other for your relationship to get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. Words of affirmation are truth-telling. They're truth-telling jewels. Whatever your partner's love language is, though, I want you to speak it. I want you to know it. I want you to speak it. And I want you now to repeat after me. Love languages work for me. In my human experience. If I work them. Love languages work for me. In my human experience. If I work them. Love languages work for me. In my human experience. If I work them. And my love relationship shall get more wonderful each day. You ain't got to say it. I'm talking about me now. Okay? You can do what you want with that. God bless you. God bless love languages. And so it is. Amen.